The devastation of Hurricane Harvey is far from over. We'll have the latest on rescues, shelters, and how the victims are beginning to rebuild their lives.
City College has a new president. Stay tuned as we sit down with him to find out more about his vision for the future of our campus.
And Taylor Swift's new music video shocked audiences with her new look and attitude. We cover the reactions from fans and critics later in entertainment.
And if you have outdoor plans this Labor Day weekend, you won't want to miss our weather forecast. Newscene starts right now.
Hello and welcome to this semester's first episode of Newscene. I'm Vince Vangela.
And I'm Marissa Gonzalez.
With all of the developing news on Hurricane Harvey, here's Heather Casas with the current status of the tropical depression.
Thank you, guys. While the United States is still focusing on Texas and the damage left behind Hurricane Harvey and the historic rainfall, Hurricane Irma could be the next weather disaster. Right now, it's a Category 3 storm taking place in the middle of the Atlantic. In this map, we can see how fast she has been intensifying in the past days, but unfortunately, he's heading to the west, threatening Puerto Rico and maybe the United States in the next week. Later on, we'll have the newscast, I'll have your newscast and your Labor Day weekend forecast. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Heather. Now, Hurricane Harvey has been the forefront of everyone's minds and news feeds this past week. Here's Shaylin Martos with details on all the tragic events that have taken place.
Thanks, Marissa. According to the latest reports, at least 47 people have died in the monster Category 4 Hurricane Harvey, now classified as a tropical depression. As the floodwaters recede, officials are afraid the number will rise dramatically. The damage from the storm is expected to take months or even years to recover.
The strongest hurricane to hit the U.S. in a decade made landfall in Corpus Christi, Texas on Friday, August 25th, and continued until it moved to the Gulf of Mexico on Sunday. Hurricane Harvey made landfall again at the Texas-Louisiana border early Wednesday morning. Houston received the brunt of the storm, with areas in southeast Texas and Louisiana also being affected. Devastating flooding, winds, and rainfall have many officials comparing the destruction to Hurricane Katrina, which hit New Orleans in 2005.
In Katrina, Mississippi and Louisiana, we had 40,000 National Guard, 20,000 federal troops, and 20 ships and over 240 helicopters. So they've got to scale up and scale up quickly.
The National Weather Service calculated that up to 50 inches of rain fell in isolated areas in Houston. At least 33,000 people have evacuated and are occupying more than 230 shelters. Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner told NPR that he believes it will take more than $70 million for the city to fully recover, and he is looking to Washington for aid. Mayor Turner has been under fire since Harvey made landfall for refusing to issue an evacuation notice before the storm.
You cannot put 6.5 million people on the road 2 days before a storm that you don't know where it is going.
Louisiana had heavy rains and flooded roads, with some people needing rescue. But according to Governor John Bel Edwards, the effect was less than anticipated. In Texas, however, at least 2 reservoirs were in danger of overflowing, so officials decided to release water to ensure the dams would hold. This decision, while necessary, put even more homes underwater and has put 3 hospitals in harm's way. More than 20 hospitals in Houston were reportedly closed, although most remain open and fully functional. Evacuation plans for hospital patients are still underway as officials and residents of Houston work to rebuild after the storm.
Many of us here in San Diego want to help provide our support to the victims in Texas and Louisiana. It's actually easy to provide aid. Besides the Red Cross, there's opportunities to donate on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also visit the Houston City website or call their donation hotline to ensure they receive the help they need. I'm going to toss it back to these two at the desk.
Thank you for that, Shaylin, and all that very important information. President Trump's visit to Texas following the historic destruction left by Hurricane Harvey is drawing both praise and criticism. The president did not meet with victims of deadly floods in Houston or other affected areas, reportedly to avoid diverting any resources intended for recovery efforts. Trump instead visited Corpus Christi and the state's capital in Austin for meeting with the state's governor and FEMA officials. The president says Harvey will likely go down as the most expensive natural disaster in U.S. history.
For the third time, Mexico is offering troops to help with disaster relief in Houston, but the president is rejecting their offer. In 2005, Mexican troops helped with Hurricane Katrina. The country also provided food and medical aid. The White House and the State Department say if the need increases, they will work with others, including Mexico, to resolve the issue.
And a Houston televangelist is under fire for waiting too long to open his doors to flood victims. Joel Osteen of Lakewood Church posted on social media that the Houston megachurch was inaccessible due to flooding. Dozens of Houston area churches, schools, and community centers have welcomed temporary shelter for many victims. After social media criticism, Osteen finally opened up his church early on Tuesday as hundreds of victims were accommodated inside.
Harvey's aftermath has damaged a chemical plant nearby Houston. According to an Arkema executive, quote, smoke and loud popping noises came from one of 9 containers, end quote. The containers must remain cold or else the chemicals inside will become unstable and start to break down as they warm up. Unfortunately, due to the storm's floodwaters and power loss, the facility lost ability to keep the product refrigerated. The smoke from the containers can irritate eyes, lungs, and skin. Harris County Marshal's office is urging residents within the immediate area of the facility to evacuate for their own safety.
Local San Diego foundations are assisting the victims of Hurricane Harvey through donation of food, clothes, and money. This past Monday, the San Diego Unified School District has set up a donation page where you can donate money to the Red Cross. Local stations have organized call banks allowing people to donate over the phone with the hope of raising over $1 million.
The State Department is advising travelers of the dangers of going to places in northern Baja California. Some of these cities include Rosarito, Mexicali, and Tijuana. The advisory issued Tuesday hits at the heart of Mexico's tourism industry. Criminal activity and violence, including homicide, remain an issue throughout the state, according to the State Department. Homicide rates this year have increased compared to the same period in 2016.
Undocumented workers from Mexico allegedly held against their will and forced to work for a Hayward, California construction firm have been rescued. Police say at least a dozen people were removed from filthy conditions where there was no running water. The owner of the company was arrested and faces up to 10 years in prison and up to $250,000 fine if convicted.
House Speaker Paul Ryan is giving a major boost to legislative efforts to preserve deferred action for childhood arrivals, known as DACA, and urged President Donald Trump to hold off on scrapping the program. A number of Republicans and Democrats support the program and have offered legislation that would make the protections permanent. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are in a heated debate to come up with a solution. According to the White House, a decision is expected next Tuesday.
The victims of Hurricane Harvey are facing many challenges this week, including the fear of deportation. Texas law SB 4 will allow local law enforcement to question anyone's immigration status, which has discouraged undocumented immigrants to reach for help. The city of Houston sent a series of tweets saying, "We will not ask for immigration status or papers at any shelter." The tweets were in English and Spanish and encouraged people to not fear to ask for help. Houston's mayor stated his first priority is the safety of his citizens and called the state to suspend the SB 4 law.
Hundreds of activists are in the middle of a 10-day march from Charlottesville, Virginia to Washington, D.C. The protest is being called the March to Confront White Supremacy. It started on Monday and is slated to end September 6th in Washington, D.C. as Congress comes back from recess. Once there, protesters will be holding a rally calling for an end to white supremacy and to demand the removal of President Donald Trump from office.
Earlier this week, North Korea launched a missile that flew over Japan and into the Pacific Ocean. In response to North Korea's actions, the United States, Japan, and South Korea staged a massive show of force involving various bombers and jet fighters. The high-stakes standoff has raised international concerns that a miscalculation on either side could result in devastation and even more casualties than World War II.
Well, if you're one of the many commuters late for class this week, we'll have good news for you coming up next.
And 2 NFL stars just became the highest paid at their position. Find out more in sports.
6 years old, and she is my very best friend. I couldn't live alone without her. I spend a lot of time in my backyard. I feed the birds and the bees. I love my flowers. The color in my garden keeps the pink in my cheeks. I was very independent, thought I could take care of myself. I fell and I had to have Meals on Wheels. I love them. They're my savior. And I look forward to the volunteers because they've all become my friends. My name is Lola Silvestri. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Over the summer, City College got a new full-time president. Newscene Shaylin Marto sat down with President Ricky Shabazz so that we all can meet that new face you'll be seeing on campus.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with me. Good evening, Dr. Shabazz, correct?
Yes, glad to be here. Please feel free to call me Ricky.
Perfect. All right, Ricky, that's awesome. So how long have you been here at City College?
Been here exactly 7 weeks, and let me say it's been amazing. There are a lot of great people here at City College, great students.
Yeah, what day did you start on?
I started on July 11th, so I took a little vacation, went to Cancun, never been there before, jumped off a plane, packed my U-Haul up with my family, and moved on down to San Diego, and it's been a whirlwind ever since.
Yeah, and I've seen you've been very present on campus since the first day of school. You were actually there at the solar eclipse viewing?
Yes.
How did you like that?
You know, again, this college, City College, has amazing faculty, facilities. So to see that we had some astronomy faculty offer our students an opportunity to view the eclipse, you know, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. Every 20, 30 years that happens, and to be able to see it here on campus was indeed a feat.
When you just walk around, there's so many different diverse people here. It's a very, very diverse campus. And then I have to ask you, how do you feel being a man of color influences the students and faculty here? That's
something I probably take for granted because it's innate in who I am. Mm-hmm. And when I walk around campus and I have students come up to me, which I have had, and I have made it a point to visit classes because I got into this line of work to help students. Mm-hmm. And so to answer your question, it's something that affects people. And I realized I have an 8-year-old daughter. And I realized the power of someone's presence and the visual aspects of seeing someone who looks like you or who comes from a similar background or who has a similar experience.
And that was a great job by Shaylin. And if you'd like to see the complete interview, go check it out on our YouTube channel called SD City Newscene. We learn more about Dr. Shabazz's history, his ideas on boosting enrollment, and his vision for City College. We even talk about his favorite pastime as a professional tournament bass fisherman. You don't want to miss it.
All right, well, next week, math will multiply with hip-hop and equal to an event hosted by City College's World Cultures Department. Math professor Roberto Rubalcaba will mix math with hip-hop, exploring the relationship between the two concepts. If you're in need with help with algebra, fractions, or any type of math, this will be the place to be. The event will be held in MS 162 on Wednesday, September 6th from 12:45 to 2 in the afternoon.
And if you're wondering what clubs and organizations are on campus this semester, next week will be your chance to find out. Club Rush is an event where the student clubs can introduce themselves to the new group of students at City College. On Tuesday from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m., all campus clubs will be on full display in the Upper Plaza AH Quad. These clubs are a great way for students to make new friends with people who have similar interests.
Well, it's been a tough 2 weeks for students who drive to City College, as they struggle to find parking spaces on the campus. Some students with permits are parking off campus, either in Balboa Park or Golden Hill, to avoid hunting for spaces. The district parking supervisor says it's always difficult during the first 2 weeks of the semester, but should improve after the class drop deadline. Over 1,300 permits were mailed out before the semester began, and thanks to leased spaces from San Diego High School, students have access to over 1,100 spaces. No construction of additional parking structures is scheduled at this time.
And if you park a car on or around campus this semester, make sure you have the required permit and park your car legally. Violation fees increased today for the first time since 2011. The fine for parking in a student lot without a permit is now $50. Illegally parking in a disabled space will cost you $450. Now this week in sports, we saw big contracts with even bigger numbers. Here's Billy King with more in sports news.
Well, thank you so much, guys. Early this week, the Detroit Lions agreed to a 5-year contract extension with quarterback Matthew Stafford through the 2022 season. The contract extension is worth over $135 million with $50 million signing bonus and $92 million in guaranteed money. Stafford was drafted first overall in the 2009 NFL Draft and has taken the Lions to the playoffs 3 times since he became the franchise quarterback. The contract extension makes Stafford the highest paid player in the NFL. Another NFL player just got paid. Houston wide receiver Denard Hopkins agreed to a 5-year deal worth $81 million with $41 guaranteed. Hopkins held out in a training camp in hopes of getting a new deal, but despite the team's quarterback troubles, Hopkins has been one of the top 5 wide receivers in the league in the past 2 seasons. And J.J. Watt has done great things for the city of Houston after their disaster. His $200,000 donation eclipsed $10 million. Close to 100,000 donations have been made through Watt's Houston Flood Relief Foundation. Watt has said on his Twitter account that the most difficult times brings out the best in humanity. And finally, America's finest city is getting the new professional sports team. The National Lacrosse League is bringing their newest expansion team to the Valley View Casino Arena this fall. The owner, Joseph Tsai, who lives in La Jolla, is a former lacrosse player himself while he attended Yale University. Tsai said that the team is committed to creating a fan-first experience and being an integral part in the local community, which is a welcoming to hear for San Diegans since the Chargers bolted for Los Angeles. That'll do it for sports. Back to you folks at the desk.
Thanks a lot, Billy. A controversial revelation regarding illegal banking practices outraged many customers late last week. Stay tuned to find out if you were affected.
Later on in entertainment, we'll tell you what movie to hunt down tonight and which one of Charlie's Angels made a charitable donation.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
A scandalous debacle has unfolded involving one of the biggest banks in the United States. Wells Fargo is ordered to pay $1 million to customers after it opened accounts without their knowledge. The bank agreed to look for fake accounts going back since 2009. Wells Fargo CEO Tim Sloan apologizes, quote, to everyone who was harmed by the unacceptable sales practices that occurred in the retail bank, unquote. The disclosure urged new calls from lawmakers and consumers for additional changes at the bank. Wells Fargo plans to pay out an additional $7 million in refunds to the impacted customers.
A new drug that may give a second chance to leukemia patients just hit U.S. markets. Kymriah is gene therapy that modifies the patient's own immune cells to attack cancer cells. Researchers think the new drug sounds promising despite its high price and possible side effects.
Big donations and a fan favorite are among the volunteers this week in collaboration with San Diego Toyota dealers. The Food for Kids backpack program stocks food every week for local schools with children in need. San Diego Padre Will Myers was there helping fill these backpacks, which are given to kids on Friday with enough food to last throughout their weekends. Additionally, the Toyota dealers of San Diego donated $10,000.
With tensions rising to reach a deal, a local union will soon play tough. The Service International Union, Local 221, will go on strike September 12th and 13th. The union represents over half of the county's workers. The last time SEIU went on strike was back in 1994.
And from new music videos to Hollywood classics, here's Celia Jimenez with entertainment.
Thank you, guys. We're going to start first with Taylor Swift. Tay-Tay has reinvented herself and embraces the snake in her new video, Look What You Made Me Do. The singer is showing a darker and sexier self where she laughed at herself and announced the new Taylor. Look What You Made Me Do has set a first state record on YouTube after being watched 31 million times in 24 hours. This comes after no surprise after Swift has been accused in social media of copying Beyond's Super Bowl choreography, making fun of Kim Kardashian's strawberry in Paris, mocking frenemy Katy Perry, or showing her victory over DJ David Muller. Tay-Tay is definitely showing off her darker side and creating a new reputation. And moving from one controversy to another, Gone with the Wind, the movie that won the first Oscar for a black actor was pulled out of theaters in Memphis, Tennessee. The film has been shown there for the past 34 years as part of its classic summer series. Gone with the Wind, a romantic story set during the Civil War, generated a lot of comments among moviegoers during its last screening in Memphis, where about 2/3 of its population is African American. Fans of the film are having mixed reactions. Some stated that the decision further provoked racial division. Brett Batterson, the president of our film theater group, stated, "This is about their films wanting to be inclusive and welcoming all of Memphis." And that's all I have for you guys. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Celia. Now, some people aren't just satisfied buying a computer from Best Buy. A lot of people are building their own PCs. And now, Newscene's Jack Dominguez will show you how to get started with this week's Tech Minute.
This is an i7-6700. It has a max speed of 4 GHz, 8 logical cores, and is insanely fast for its power consumption of only 65 watts. That's as much as a light bulb. Our computer will start from a 480GB Corsair solid-state drive. This will allow the computer to be blisteringly fast. The media drive is a Seagate 2TB 7200 RPM hard drive. Your average laptop has a 5400 RPM hard drive inside it. For our graphics card, we went with a Gigabyte GTX 970 Windforced Overclocked Edition. It has 4 gigs of VRAM and it can handle our After Effects. Imagine it as having a larger canvas to paint your mural on. Next, a Corsair HX 750i. It is a 750 watt platinum rated power supply. Power supply rating is how efficient and consistent your supply of power is. You wouldn't put diesel in your sports car, would you? We can't forget our two 16GB sticks of DDR4 RAM at 2400 MHz. Having large amounts of RAM is like having a large desktop space. Not enough, and your workflow will suffer. First, I removed the side panels for ease of access. Next, I installed my power supply. Slightly tighten the screws in an X pattern. Now time for the motherboard standoffs. They prevent the motherboard from touching the case and shorting out. Don't forget your I/O shield, otherwise the elements can enter your case. Do not tighten the screws too tight. Next, I had to plug in and run the power cables. The RAM has a slit in it that lines up with the slot. Press firmly on both sides to lock it in. I lost my solid-state screws, so I zip-tied it on. The computer starts in 14 seconds, we spent 30 minutes building, and we saved $500 to $700. Jack Dominguez, Newscene.
If you'd like to see the full video, go to our YouTube channel at SD City Newscene.
And if you're looking for fun events for this holiday weekend, stay tuned for what's happening at the downtown waterfront.
And after the break, Heather Casas has an update on this weekend's weather forecast.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
That's
Welcome back. San Diego's own Frankie J is throwing a charitable benefit concert for the victims of Hurricane Harvey. Frankie, a Houston native, will be performing on September 9th at the Music Box located in Little Italy. All proceeds collected at the concert will be donated to the hurricane victims. And if you can't make it to the concert, Frankie's also started a crowdfunding page where you can donate directly.
And now here's Heather with the weather.
Thank you, guys. So today is the 6th record hot day in a row, and we're gonna have a little bit of fog during the mornings, which is gonna increase the temperatures 10 to 15 degrees above normal. As you can see, all the way from Oceanside, Carlsbad, San Diego, and Chula Vista is gonna be in the 90 degrees. Escondido, Poway, and El Cajon is gonna hit the triple-digit temperatures. Moving our way into the mountains, Julian is going to be at 92 degrees, and Borrego Springs are going to be at 111 degrees. Now moving our way into the weekend weather forecast. It's going to be really warm during the weekend. Today we'll have temperatures in the 90s, low 70s. Tomorrow is going to be the hottest day during the week. It's going to be 92 degrees, almost in the low 80s. For the weekend, Sunday and Monday is going to drop a little bit, but it's going to still hot. It's going to be in the 80s. On Sunday, we're going to have a 20% of precipitation. And, the excessive heat warning remains until 10 p.m., so drink plenty of fluids. Try to stay in an air-conditioned room, and try to stay in the shade. If you're having any plans for this holiday, Labor Day weekend, if you're planning to go to the beach, expect it to be crowded, but it's going to be a nice hot weather. Just put a lot of sunscreen and drink a lot of fluids. That's all the time that I have for weather. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Heather. The Down From waterfront will be busy with tourists and locals alike this holiday weekend. Every year, the San Diego Maritime Museum hosts its Festival of Sail. The event kicked off yesterday with a parade of tall ships coming into the bay. Participating ships will be open for public tours on all days of the event, and some will be paying passengers on mock gun battles in the bay. Ships include San Diego's own Star of India, which is the oldest active sailing ship in the entire world, and it was built in 1863. Visiting ships will also sail from Dana Point, from Los Angeles, and other places. To participate, the event continues through Labor Day. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I know that, I like to go down and hang out at the Embarcadero and sometimes check out the ships down there.
It's always a great place, and you're always going to get great food there. And if you're a seafood fan, it's definitely the place for you. I don't even like seafood.
Well, I'm a big fish market fan, and so, I like to go down there and just sit out there by the water and just have a bucket of clams.
My dad loves that place. He loves that place. And I think, being from San Diego and not liking seafood has been, my biggest disadvantage in life.
That's really tough. Fish tacos?
No.
Wow.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, there's lots of, it's Labor Day weekend. We can barbecue. We can, there's all sorts of things. But that is it. That's all we have for this week's edition of Newscene. Tune in next week for all your local, national, and international news.